Some people can't afford therapy, so they're using ChatGPT. And in those cases, I feel like that's a positive thing. Trying to use ChatGPT as a therapist is a double-edged sword. People need mental health treatment and services and can't afford it. You have these low-cost alternatives and these chatbots that feel like they're your friends. They don't understand language. They don't actually understand what you're saying. And you type in your prompt, it takes your prompt and converts it to what's called a token, which is a mathematical representation of the text. And then it uses that token to calculate what word it should say next. When it's doing those calculations, it's all math. There's no actual language. And their goal is to mathematically give you the answer it thinks you want to hear. So by their very nature, they're parrots. They're going to be echo chambers inherently. In 2024, there was a research study that compared ChatGPT 4 to Mistral to Llama in a therapeutic context specifically. The study found that even though the responses felt like they were talking to a human, they actually lacked empathy and the ability to react based on nuance, way more significantly than the actual human psychiatrist.
You're saying it doesn't have empathy the way a human does. What is it missing in that conversation? Where could that conversation lead?
So this teenager who was already mentally ill, his parents had him in a lot of treatment. He's in there and he's chatting with it and he starts talking about wanting to harm himself. And there's nothing inside of that system that can go flag it like an actual human therapist would be required to. There was a news story about a woman who divorced her husband because ChatGPT coached her through reading the coffee for evidence that he was cheating. ChatGPT was telling her like, this is what this means inside of your coffee, like on some spiritual,
like tarot stuff?
Yes. There was an individual who had identified that part of their identity was causing them stress at work. ChatGPT just immediately were like, yo, quit your job. Well, that's not an actual real answer when you live in a real world where you have real bills to pay. So while it might work well with someone who just needs to vent for their day, that might not work well for someone who has deep trauma or are going through mental health crises where they might feel like they even want to harm or unalive themselves. There is some benefit to having a place where you can vent safely. This thing that we're doing with these math systems where we're making them human-like in our language, it's called anthropomorphization, is very dangerous. It's not that they're inherently bad. It's that we aren't putting enough boundaries around them to make them useful while not being harmful.